Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Shuffle. It is me, Peter from Sheffield Shuffler. I'm here with my buddy and co-host, John LaLoja. What's up, John?
What's up, the people? How's it going?
Good. What's going on, man? You have a good weekend?
Living the dream. And by living the dream, I mean enjoying the last few weeks I have here in the city of Chicago before I take on dad life as we move into our new house in the suburbs. So, I'm a little sad to be leaving the city. I feel like it's time now. But I know my life isn't ending, but it feels like it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to talk about my lawn yet, or any of those dad, getting new golf clubs. Like, I'm not ready for it. I don't really have much of my arsenal anyway to talk about lawn care or golf clubs.
I like this. I like living in the suburbs now. Like, and when we were younger, it's like, yeah, the city's the place to be, and that's where all the action is. Totally cool. But like now, I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be around 3 million people in Chicago that most of them are nut jobs, and I hate a lot of people as it is. So it's like, why do I want to be around that? I want my own piece of property. Leave me the fuck alone.
I'm excited to have my own yard. 100%. I cannot wait to have my own backyard
and have some space, right? Your own space.
But you have to be nice to these people. Like, since you're living next to them, like, do I have to give them the kind of common courtesy of like, oh, I'm a friendly neighbor? What happens if I don't like them?
That's the thing, dude. Rule number one is I would not make friends with neighbors. That's rule number one.
I know, but my wife wants to make friends with them, and I'm fine making friends with them unless they suck. And if they suck, I don't want to hang out with them, but I live next to them. And isn't there an obligation that you have to spend some time with your neighbors?
No, zero obligation to spend time with them. You can be courteous and friendly. All I want is, hey, neighbor.
That's going to be tough too.
You see them walking in with their groceries. Hey, how you doing? All right, Frank. Hey, Frank. And then I'm running into the garage,
Frank sucks.
Yeah, Frank does suck. But yeah, it'll grow on you real quick, dude. Dad life, suburb life. It's not bad.
I'm excited about it. But yeah, we're just doing street festivals, enjoying the last couple of weeks. Trying to catch a Cubs game before we move out. So we live like 10 minutes away from Wrigley. So we're going to try to hit that up and maybe bring my 1-year-old son to a game. I feel like it's too young. My wife really wants to do it, but I'm like, isn't that too young for a kid? I don't know. When I have to hold him the entire game, it's not going to be super enjoyable. He's not going to know anything about what's happening. I can't explain anything. And it's just, I feel like it's just for my wife to take pictures and put them up on social media saying Theo went to his first Cubs game.
Sure. Yeah. A big portion of that is with a lot of stuff nowadays. But yeah, it's like a moment for you and your kid too. Like, hey, this was the first time I brought you to a Cubs game.
That's true.
And I think you should
document it.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I had the best time, but it's like, hey, I brought my son to his first Cubs game. And you'll always remember that. And you'll know, Christopher Morel went 2 for 3 with a home run or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you can take a photo and you can show him later in life, hey, this was your first Cubs game.
His name is also Theo. So is he allowed in the basket in the outfield? Take a picture. I'll just put him in there. He can just chill. I'll take the picture, and I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure they'll be cool with it.
You got me, dude. But I highly suggest it. I suggest you do it.
All right, maybe we'll do it.
John, let's get into some topics today.
So what I had today, some news. Gronk is retiring again. Rob Gronkowski, the tight end of the Buccaneers, longtime tight end, Pro Bowler of the Patriots, is retiring for a second time. He announced it on Instagram. And so I'm thinking, is he the greatest tight end of all time? In quite a fairly short career. I mean, he was just absolutely incredible. Just to give you some stats. So New England from 2010 to 18, Tampa, obviously 2020 to 22, where he recently retired. 4-time first team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion 4 times, I believe. 3 with the Pats, 1 with the Bucs. 2014 AP Comeback Player of the Year, 143 games, 621 catches, 9,286 yards, 92 touchdowns. and then was named to the NFL 100 all-time team in 2019, which is pretty remarkable since he had only been in the league for 9 years. So I looked up this list, and there's 2 guys that are currently listed ahead of him. Can you guess who those tight ends are?
Yes, one of them's got to be Tony Gonzalez.
He's number 1. Okay,
So
Kansas
Tony
City.
Gonzalez, number 1.
Yep.
Wide receiver of all time, right? I'm sorry, tight end.
Tight end.
He's in the Hall of Fame. So I mean, granted,
he's number 1. His stats are going to be pretty tough to beat just because of his longevity. So Kansas City 97-08, Atlanta 19-13, 14-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first team, 270 games, over 15,000 yards receiving,
how many
111
seasons?
touchdowns. So that's going to be impossible. And he got inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2019. So.
How many seasons did he play?
So 97-08, and then 09-13. So I'm not a mathematician, but I believe that's like 17 years, 16 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, NFL, you play in a league that stands for not for long, and yeah, you're playing 17 years. That's a lot.
And then number 2, Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates, yeah, for the Chargers, right?
Yeah. I think Gronk was uniquely different because I think when he was healthy, was really, really difficult to guard. I think his career was definitely cut short because so many people just went at his knees and his ankles and his legs and just cut them out from under him, which is really the only way you can tackle a guy like that. And even in his time with Tampa, obviously he had the rapport with Brady, but he became so invaluable as a lead blocker, which really helped Fournette in the running game, and frankly, a lot of the pass protection for Brady to make these throws to Evans and Godwin. So
he's also the more decorated wide receiver, right? Tony Gonzalez, 0 Super Bowls, right?
None.
Antonio
And Gates, nothing.
0 Super Bowls. So as far as when you talk about best, I think that's a conversation to have too. When you say the best, what does that mean? Are you the most decorated? Do you have the most accomplishments? But I mean,
we talk about this with Mike Trout all the time. Like,
right.
Trout could be considered arguably the greatest baseball player of all time when it's all said and done. He's already a Hall of Famer right now. But what does he have to show for it? Stats and absolutely one season and like one postseason, and that's it. We talk about the Captain documentary with Jeter, which is like a 7-part docu-series about Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
stats aren't that remarkable, but what was remarkable is all his World Series championships and his play in the postseason, which is really what people remember. And so I often think about that at times with Trout. It's like, we'll have a ton of video, we'll have a ton of stats, but will he be remembered as one of the all-time greats? And
you don't have that moment, that postseason moment, right?
Yeah.
That everybody wants to be remembered for.
And I think you need that because when people talk about the greatest tight ends of all time, they're going to think about Gronk number 1 because of all of his indelible moments in Super Bowls and the postseason.
Right.
But then people look at lists like you and I are doing right now, like, oh yeah, Tony Gonzalez, Gates. Oh man, they were incredible. But it really doesn't have the same feel as far as legacy.
Mm-hmm. So what do you believe is more important then? The accolades or the individual accomplishments?
Man. I struggle with this because I often think about this with...
I think the sport matters as well.
Sport matters. I struggled this with Rodgers and Brady. Now, universally, most people would say that Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. 10, we've been to 10 Super Bowls, have won 7. Great postseason play, great leader. But when I watch Aaron Rodgers play football, he plays it at a different level. His arm strength, his accuracy, his ability to play the position is unlike anyone I've ever seen, maybe with the exception of Mahomes, and let's see if Mahomes can do it for a long period of time. But when someone says the greatest quarterback, it can't just be about stats. Otherwise, it's math, and then it's not debatable. You just look at the stats.
Mm-hmm.
So the greatest, I think, is the greatest at their position. Statistically, it's going to be Brady. No one's ever going to beat that. But I think Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen as far as throwing on anything you can do in that position, pre-snap, throwing on the run. Yes, he hasn't has as many Super Bowls as Brady, but when you talk about the greatest of all time, I think Rodgers as quarterback, and I also think Gronk, because I think Gronk has the stats and the accolades, but physically, I think he could do things that Gonzalez and Gates could not do physically. He played the position differently than anyone I've ever seen. Similar with Steph Curry. I've never seen a guard play basketball the way Steph Curry plays basketball. It's different, and he happens to have the accolades as well. So I think that is how I would define greatest of all time.
In football, the quarterback has the most power on the field to determine how well a team is performing. Not all of it, but he has the largest portion of it. He touches the ball every play on offense, right? Of course, you have to have a good defense, but
defense plays a huge part in football. I think the only thing you can isolate greatest of all time, honestly, is golf and tennis, individual sports. Baseball helps too. You can isolate the stats because it's kind of a individual sport on a team.
Right. But I'm saying I think accolades do come into play in football, especially at the quarterback position, most most throwing yards, most touchdowns, things like that a quarterback can control. I think those accolades are important in deciding who is the best ever. Baseball, not so much. I think there's 9 guys on the field. There's a guy that pitches, 5 different guys that pitch every day. So like we said, we're with Mike Trout. He's one of the best baseball players of all time. He's on the shittiest team. No one gives a shit about him. I mean, you could say he's the greatest.
But there's something to be said about that. He made a choice. He made a choice to stay in Anaheim. He didn't have to. He wanted to. That needs to be mentioned when you talk about Mike Trout. He wanted to stay with a mediocre franchise, which he knew it was, which I don't think him winning a World Series is the most important thing for him. I think he's happy with his family and he enjoys it out there. I think there's something to be said about his choice to stay in Anaheim when he could have literally gone anywhere he wanted.
I think Robert Horry has, I don't know how many championships, but if we're looking off accolades by themselves, you would say he would be the greatest basketball player of all time when that's simply just not true, right? So there's other things that obviously go in part with that. Yogi Berra has 10 World Series rings between player and manager. I mean, you can argue he's one of the greatest of all time.
Dan Marino is considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He didn't have a Super Bowl. Trout may never win. Certainly will never win a World Series, might not even win a playoff series, and will still be considered one of the best players of all time. So everyone has their own. I mean, that's what when you say greatest of all time, I think it's a fascinating debate because it is determined by what you define is great. We're not going by the numbers because if we did, then this wouldn't even be a question, and we would just look at stats. But
also, it's hard to determine guys that we have not watched, John. When people say, "Ooh, Roger Staubach, one of the best quarterbacks," I never saw that guy take a snap. So it's hard for me to be like Roger Staubach or Dan Marino. Like I didn't watch those guys. I watched Peyton Manning, Brady, Rodgers. Yes. Like these are the guys who I feel comfortable deciphering who's better than who because I've seen it and they've had those moments in the playoffs and those things that they're remembered for. But when you go back and they say like Yogi Berra, best catcher, or Harmon Killebrew, I'm like Ty Cobb. I'm like I never saw a Ty Cobb game before.
Right, you know what I mean? And they were throwing 93-mile-an-hour changeups like Alcantara for Miami. You know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculous. Like the how much better medicine and technology and information that we have has enhanced every single sport and the athletes as well.
Yeah.
So I think Gronk is the best of all time. Sticking with football. So we all know about DeShaun Watson. In hot water, I'd say would be an understatement. So his attorney says 20 of the 24 lawsuits filed against Cleveland Browns quarterback DeShaun Watson is being settled.
It's all he can afford right now.
What?
It's all he can afford right now.
Of course.
20 out of the 24.
I don't know if we talked about this. Do you know what they did with his contract? So what did he get? Like $230 million and like an enormous amount of that was guaranteed. But on purpose, they gave him a salary his first year of $1 million. So in case he got, they structured his contract in a way where in case he has
pay off
to
like civil suits,
right, civil suits or whatever, then they would get just a cut of the $1 million for this year of what his yearly salary is. So they did that on purpose. They assumed that he was going to pay some money.
These teams are dirty too, and it came out that the Texans provided non-disclosure agreements for when he went to have these massages. Dirty stuff, dude. Behind the scenes, NFL teams, dirty stuff.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, since March 16, 2021, 25 lawsuits have been filed against Watson, alleged sexual assault and other inappropriate behavior during massage sessions. Basically, dude was a creep. I've watched like an E60 or a piece on it, or is like HBO Real Sports.
E69, right?
There you go. That's on Spike TV.
I miss Spike TV.
And the Spice Channel, but it's very grainy.
Spike TV was awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, so this dude's a creep. But it's really not talking about him and how gross he is, but it's talking about the fan of the Cleveland Browns. I think it's reprehensible and insane that they would bring this guy in. But in sports, front offices do not give a shit about the moral compass of an individual. They give a shit about the bottom line. They don't even care if you can
$1 dollar bills, y'all.
And if you can produce and you can play, they'll pay you and they'll do whatever they can to keep you on staff. And as everybody knows, and especially the Cleveland Browns know, you cannot win in the National Football League if you do not have a quarterback. I think I've talked about this before, but Paul DePodesta, who is personified in the movie Moneyball, played by Jonah Hill, that analytics guy, he works for the Browns, and he was asked, hey, do you think you can, operate this Moneyball strategy in football like you did in baseball with the A's? And he said, yes, to a point. There's a lot of things that we can do. He goes, but all the number crunching that we have done, we can't make up the fact for the importance of the quarterback position. And if you are not in the top 10 of quarterbacks in the NFL, you will not be a successful organization. So, you know what I mean? And so that's important to note.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have hitched my horse or my wagon to that horse. But we've seen this a lot. So there's a difference because, like you said, they brought him in and they paid him this guaranteed money. That's a bad move, okay? We've seen this with a lot of other sports, domestic abuse, Kareem Hunt, Aroldis Chapman, Addison Russell. I mean, you can go down the line.
Ray Rice, first time we saw a video of it.
Greg Hardy, stuff like that. So a lot of it gets brushed under the rug, depending on how successful you are. Aroldis Chapman traded from the Yankees to the Cubs after he took a gun to his girlfriend's head, shot it in his garage, sat in his car, got arrested. They traded Gleyber Torres to the Yankees.
Tyreek Hill pushed his girlfriend down the stairs. So also not a good dude. So, but the question isn't like, yes, this happens all the time in sports. The question is, Pete, if you're a Browns fan, and I'm sure it's a different feeling. We don't know if you're a woman, but it's still reprehensible either way. But can you cheer for DeShaun Watson if you're a Browns fan? Can you still go to games? Can you watch on Sunday and be like, all right, you know what? I know he's a piece of shit, but he's going to help my team win, and I don't care. You? Is that possible? And do you think the majority of Browns fans will be like, I don't give a shit. I just want him to win?
John, do you know the amount of shit they've put up with for the last 30 years? I mean, granted, it wasn't sexual abuse, but they've gone through this dog shit. They're still supporting their teams. They've been through like 20-something quarterbacks over the last 17 years.
So you think they don't care?
I think sports fans are sports fans. I think there's going to be more, like you said, moral compass. It's about winning, and I'm not supporting this at all. I think he's a piece of shit. I wouldn't support him. But when it comes to my sports teams, like, I am concerned about winning. I know most of those guys probably aren't good people. Just like, I buy an iPhone. Do you know how I know how this is made, where it's made, how it's made?
Of course.
Slave labor, child labor laws overseas. Same thing with my Nike shoes, whatever. I know how it's made. Still buy it, right? Because I like it and I want it. Same thing with my entertainment or my sports team.
And that's what the front office is banking on. They're like, if we win, it won't matter.
That's unfortunate. That's just how
I think you're right. I think that if they come out 3-0, I think they're going to be like, well, he's not a good guy, but he is, he's really he's
great at
exceptional
third
at
and short.
escaping the pocket and making plays.
Yeah. Oh, those are good jokes right there. Escaping the pocket. Sorry, it escaped the pocket.
That's good. It's good. Yeah. We can use all this. So next topic. Why is everyone so mad about the Live Tour? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the PGA Tour has been around for forever. Okay, there is a new league called the Live Tour, which is being funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and is fronted by two-time Open winner Greg Norman, the Shark. So essentially, they are creating their own league. And Brooks Koepka, a very popular golfer, has decided to join the Live Golf Tour along with Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau, so a couple notable golfers. And essentially, the draw is because it's funded by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which is a lot of oil money. They can pay an exorbitant amount of money for winners and for people to play in their tournaments. So what you would make on the PGA Tour, you could make 3 or 4 times more on the Live Tour. And golfers are essentially independent contractors, so there is no rule saying, it's the free market creating another tour. I mean, someone could do this for Major League Baseball. They'd be like, oh, we're creating a different league, than Major League Baseball. And they would try to get maybe other players. I don't know if there's clauses in Major League Baseball that they can't play, but everyone's super pissed about this. And I don't know why people are upset about it. I think it's because the PGA Tour is so old. PGA Tour is so old, and they don't want these other golfers playing on this other tour. Who cares? They talk about legacy, but I think that's honestly for an older generation. I think 24, 25-year-olds today, if they're like, okay, I've won maybe 1 major or 2, but I can make 3 to 4 times as much money on this tour, I'm going to go.
Isn't it a political thing, John? That's why people are upset about it.
They're upset because they want all the best players on the same tour. You know what I mean? So when people are tuning into the PGA Tour, they want all the best players because it's better for the product. If you know that 4 of the top 20 golfers are playing on the Live Tour for this particular tournament, and someone wins a PGA Tour tournament, it's gonna not have the same gravitas because you're like, oh, okay, well they won this, but 5 of the best players are playing at another tour overseas.
Right.
Maybe possibly some politics. Phil Mickelson said some pretty reprehensible things.
Really?
About and it kind of got ostracized from the PGA Tour. It was some inflammatory things about the people in Saudi Arabia. And
he was making fun of them.
Yeah, he just not speaking about them in a very positive light. And said this to an author who was doing an unauthorized biography on Phil Mickelson, and then basically talked about how the PGA Tour was, was difficult to play on or holding people hostage and not letting them, play elsewhere or whatever. And so the PGA Tour kind of ostracized him, and then he jumped ship from the PGA Tour and went to the Live Tour, where he's playing now. So I don't think and now every golfer is has to come out in social media and say, hey, I'm not leaving the PGA Tour. I'm staying here, because it's happening behind closed doors. Every other day, it's oh, this person's leaving the tour and playing in the Live Tour. So Live Golf has now signed 8 of the top 50 players in the world: Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau, and they're expected to compete in an event in Portland as well. And then also 2-time major winner Dustin Johnson and 6-time major winner Phil Mickelson have competed in Live Golf's inaugural event outside London a couple weeks ago. So they're getting more and more players to join their tour, and people are freaking out about it. But they're essentially independent contractors, so I don't think it
Is it
matters.
still
And
going to be televised?
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing. I think it will be, but they aren't yet. So a lot of people really don't know about it. Like it's not on. I mean, you can stream it, but you can like torrent it, but it's not on like CBS or NBC.
Sure.
And I think
It's on Tel Aviv.
that's right. Al Jazeera, and I think it's eventually coming. But if as long as they don't have Tiger Woods, I don't think it'll. I mean, they offered Tiger like ridiculous amounts of money to go there, and he said no. But
I mean,
so all right,
it sucks, but that's free market economy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who cares? Like,
pay him more money then.
PGA Tour, if you don't want them to leave, then incentivize your purse and make it worthwhile for people to stay on tour. But they can't. You can't compete with oil money from Saudi Arabia. Forget it. Okay, coming back to baseball a little bit. Can we talk about Oneil Cruz, new shortstop for the Pirates? Dude,
yeah, he's a monster.
Holy shit.
He's going to be – I think he's the tallest person in the MLB now. We just talked about this, remember? We were saying Tyler Glasnow was 6'7" as well.
Can you – that link I sent you, can you share that throw against the Cubs he made the other night from the hole? Like, Contreras is running. Contreras not the fastest guy in the world, obviously, but – Oneil Cruz like ranges to his right, backhands it, and then throws a seed 96.7 miles an hour from shortstop, which is like on a freaking line. It's just incredible. So the hardest throw by an infielder in Major League Baseball this year, 96.7 on the throw I'm talking about now, and hopefully you can share it. The hardest hit ball of the year by a Pirate. Okay. So this is 3 innings into his 2020 debut last night from Pirates, Oneil Cruz. Hardest throw by an infielder, 96.7. The hardest hit ball of the year by a Pirate, 112.9 off the bat. And then the 3 fastest sprint speeds of a year by a Pirate, 31.5, 30.7, and 30.3, courtesy of MLB Pipeline. So this dude can play, and I thought it was hilarious because I was on Twitter, and the Pirates, like, this goes to show a franchise and organization that has absolutely nothing going for them. So they did a separate promo video the night before playing, like, the time has come, like, Oneil Cruz will finally play. But as advertised, the dude is sick. So they have, obviously, they're not going anywhere, but this dude is an absolute stud, so it will be fun to watch him going forward.
How do you play shortstop in major leagues being 6'7"? How?
As a shortstop, it's weird. Like,
yeah, you have to bend over all the time.
Right.
That's rough, dude. I mean, it's like Aaron Judge playing shortstop. What?
It's crazy. But dude, he's a stud. Were you able to share that or no?
Yeah, didn't you see it?
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
I was sharing it for like 2 minutes.
I was reading something else.
Oh, sorry.
And so he's incredible. And then just to update real quick, I want to talk about All-Star 2022 in LA. Boy, it'd be really cool to go to that. But so I just want to talk about who's leading the ballot, the votes. So National League, first base, who do you think it is? We'll play a guessing game. Yes, Goldschmidt is 1. What about American League?
First base,
Yes.
Probably Vladdy.
Yes. Who's number 2, do you think? You'll never guess.
Where, at first base?
Yes, first base. You'll never guess.
I'll never guess.
You'll never guess the second leading vote getter behind Vlad Guerrero Jr. in the American League.
Ty France.
Yeah, but are you looking at it? Did you cheat?
Looking at what?
The sheet I'm looking at. I'm quizzing you. He is second. Did you just guess that?
Well, yeah, you said I'll never guess it, so I'm not going to guess Rizzo. I'm not going to guess Jose Abreu.
Dude, I'm saying I'm impressed. That's pretty good. All right, second base.
Send me over the answers?
Yeah, but you're not supposed to look at them. I'm supposed to. Did you already look at them?
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. You said
All right. Leading vote getter for second base in the American League. Who do you think it is?
Altuve.
Yes. What about National League? You're going to get this.
Second base.
You're like his biggest fan. Or he's your biggest fan.
Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah. Dude's a stud.
Yeah.
13 home runs, 831 OPS. Dude, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's probably got the most swag. Tied for, got a lot of swag. He's bringing a lot of swag to the league.
Definitely. Third baseman, American League, Devers, number 1.
Devers over Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez is 2. National League, who do you think?
At third base?
Third base.
Is it Arenado?
He's 2nd. Machado, I know he just got hurt. Machado's 1.
Machado 1, Arenado 2.
Yeah, Machado, dude, his numbers are nuts. 328 average, 12 homers, 46 RBIs, 945. OPS.
Dude, so happy to see him roll his ankle the other day. So happy. And I don't want to, wish that, but he's one of the dirtiest fucking players I've ever seen, dude. He's stepped on people's feet before. He's so easy to root against. He stepped on first baseman's feet before. Jesus Aguilar stepped on the back of his ankle.
Oh, yeah.
He threw bats. Like I can't root for him. So when he rolled his ankle, I was like, oh, poor baby.
Yeah. No. He's so easy to root against. And all that shit too. Like when he said, he's like, oh, I'm not Johnny Hustle. Remember in the World Series? He's like, was it in the World Series? He said,
yeah, when he was on the Dodgers, right?
Dodgers? After he got with the trade deadline from Baltimore. I'm just like, dude, God, like, what the worst attitude imaginable, but he's so talented.
That's been his MO forever, though. You know what I mean? And people are just like, well, if he plays the way that he plays, it doesn't matter. I'm like, kind of still does.
I don't know. I mean, he did get a $300 million contract, so like obviously they don't care. I mean, his performance speaks for itself, but like, you want him on your team, but God,
right? As a teammate,
as a teammate, it would just be like, man, this guy sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which is such a fucking bummer too, because he's so good. Third baseman, American League, who's leading vote getter.
Third base in the American League. I don't know.
Bo Bichette.
Really?
Number 2, Tim Anderson.
Third base?
Excuse me. Shortstop.
Okay. Because I was going to say, what?
All right. Shortstop.
Okay, so Bo Bichette and Tim Anderson.
Bo Bichette, Tim Anderson, National League, shortstop this time.
Francisco Lindor.
No, dude. Trey Turner.
Trey Turner.
And I have to give you props because I was talking shit about Trey Turner before the season started. I was like, he's not going to be great. I was so wrong. He's hitting 301, 9 homers, 49 RBI, 832 OPS, 2 Dansby Swanson. Yeah. Catcher, I'm just going to run through these. Wilson Contreras, number 1 for National. Travis d'Arnaud, 2. Dude, he's a stud. That dude is so good. Yeah. Alejandro Kirk, first in the American League.
As he should be.
Outfield, Mookie Betts, obviously. This is before he got hurt. Acuna, 2 National. Number 1, Aaron Judge, obviously, in the American League. Dude, 1.027 OPS. 25 bombs, 50 RBIs. This might be his best season ever. I mean, everyone on the Yankees is just crushing. I mean,
and playing during a contract year too.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Stanton is number 3. Trout is number 2. I mean, dude, when you're ahead of Mike Trout, it's pretty impressive.
You got to be having a year.
Yeah.
I think people also get numb to the fact on how good Trout is too. You know what I mean? Especially being on a shitty team like that, and it's like, oh, he's hitting 300. Like, who fucking cares?
Right, I know. And so we're like marveling. I mean, and obviously Judge has had some injuries, so we're marveling at his over 1,027 OPS, like 25 homers, 50 RBIs. Like, that's amazing. And you look at Trout's 21 homers, 43 RBIs. And a 1.039 OPS. But you're like, well, he's Mike Trout. He should have over 1,000 OPS. You know what I mean? But like, that's unheard of. Like, that never happens. But we've just become so accustomed to it. And by the way, the AL outfielders just destroy National League. So there's like the top vote getters are almost all in the American League. 1, Aaron Judge. 2, Trout. 3, Springer. Giancarlo Stanton. His numbers are also stupid. And then Taylor Ward for Anaheim. Who has a 984 OPS, which is also nuts.
Yeah.
Juan Soto from NL. And then Yordan Alvarez for DH. William Contreras for Atlanta, and then Bryce Harper as well. I don't know why he's listed under DH, but he is. He's number one vote getter for DH. Also
For
has
who?
over for National League for designated hitter.
Who?
Bryce Harper. He's the leading vote getter.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he's played not majority of the season, but I mean a good chunk now.
Yeah, and Ohtani obviously is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last thing I want to mention is how the Yankees can't lose, which is insane. So they're absolutely dominating this season. They've reached
first team to 50 wins.
50 wins in 67 games with a winning percentage of 746. So it puts them like, are they going to be good as the 27 Yankees, who are considered the greatest team of all time? But the
1927.
The 27 Yankees, I think, is like one of the best teams of all time. People still talk about it.
I know. That just goes
murderers row.
I was just gonna say that goes back to like people we haven't watched,
Exactly. So. Right. And so
you know what I mean? Like when people say Mickey Mantle was so great, you just say it. You're like, yeah, man, he was one of the greatest. I never saw that guy take 3 hacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the people that talk about him like swear they're like, he's the greatest player I've ever seen.
Right. And you're just like,
I mean,
totally.
in every like, I think in Joe Posnanski's Baseball 100, I'm pretty sure that it's a very popular book going through the 100 best baseball players of all time. Universally in the book, and I think elsewhere I've heard this too, but in the book, number 1 is Willie Mays. But I've heard that from so many different documentaries and baseball books I've read that overall baseball player, he was the best that ever played.
How cool is this photo?
Defensively. Dude, that's sweet. Where'd you get that?
That's Willie Mays. I got it at a Santa's Village in the winter. I showed you all that stuff, right? They have like all these like retro baseball magazines and stuff. Got like a Mike Schmidt one. I got a Sandy Koufax. Like they're like $10.
Jesus, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
Well, the Yanks are dominating. Again, the only other 2 Yankees teams in history have reached 50 wins more quickly than this squad. 39 team, 50 and 14 and 64 games. And then in 1928, they started out 50 and 16. But right now, again, they can't lose. Rizzo, the entire lineup is mashing. They lead the league in record, but like we said, run differential plus 145 and home runs, which is 111. Only the Dodgers plus 114 are even close to them in run differential, and the Braves 100, which have 100 in home runs. So yeah, they are absolutely hitting home runs at a ridiculous pace. Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Torres, they're all on pace to hit 30 or more home runs this season, which is bananas. Judge leads the way. His 25 home runs through the first 60 game trail only Mickey Mantle in 1956 and Babe Ruth in 28, both with 27, as the most through that span in Yankees history. Also, their ERA is leading the league with 2.78. And they've given up the fewest walks and the second fewest home runs. So literally number 1 in every single category. So let's see if they can sustain it. I mean, they've been fairly healthy with a bunch of guys that are injury prone, especially with Judge and Stanton. So
Josh Donaldson too, that they picked up.
Yeah, who's been awesome. Also injury prone, but
John, do you remember that episode we did and I picked the comeback player of the year? Do you remember who that was?
I don't. Did you say
Gleyber Torres?
You did say that.
Yeah, and that's shaping up pretty good.
He was in that Chapman trade.
Yes.
Right? For the Cubs in 16. The Cubs he could be playing shortstop for the Cubs. Although they wouldn't have a World Series. So
exactly. So that point is moot because we'd have a rental for Chapman. John, let's talk about some other non-sports thing. Well, John, if you could have dinner with any athlete, dead or alive, who would that be?
Any professional athlete, dead or alive?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you'd want here's my point. If you're having dinner with someone, you want them to be entertaining and funny, or at least I do. So I wouldn't pick the best player. So people are like, "Oh, I picked Mike Trout." Right. It's like, no, Mike Trout's boring.
Right, we saw that.
I wouldn't pick anyone who wasn't interesting. I mean, if I'm being honest, a professional athlete for a 3-hour dinner, It wouldn't be Aaron Rodgers. Like it would be someone who is relatable, funny, and I honestly Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
I really think so. If I had a 3-hour dinner with someone, it would be Peyton Manning. There's no one in history that I think I would find more interesting. That like is some sports figure, like an athlete. I would say him, honestly.
Yeah, I think that a couple good ones would be like Sebastian Janikowski. He's got some crazy stories, right? I mean, he was like, he kidnapped a woman and took her to Mexico. Did you ever hear that story?
No.
Oh yeah, Nick Swisher. I think Nick Swisher would be a good one. I know you think he has a cocaine problem.
Dude, that dude is on drugs. I can't prove it, but that dude is on drugs.
Yeah, someone entertaining. I said I would pick Ted Williams. Ted Williams, I think, is a very interesting person. I mean, he went to war during the height of his career, got shot down, his plane went down, landed, almost broke his legs, came back, and still had a Hall of Fame career. Just like a tough nose kind of guy.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, you want to hear about war stories, and a lot of the guys who fought in the war don't want to talk about that stuff. So
we could talk about the science of baseball though too. Like he wrote the book, the science of hitting.
Yeah, but all you would talk about is hitting though, and that's all he wanted to talk about. Like he didn't have any other interest in anything else about the game except hitting. Could you just talk about hitting for that long?
I mean, I think if I got him drunk enough, he'd like, I don't know, do some funny shit. He's one of those old guys that doesn't have like the decorum of like nowadays to be PC. So I'm sure we can get some stuff out of him.
Oh my God. It would get a ton of stuff out of him. Yeah. He wouldn't even care. He'd be like, I'm fine. I'm right. Isn't he frozen still?
He's frozen. Yeah. Him and Walt Disney.
So it might be a possibility.
You think that could ever happen? What is the point of that? And what is the cost of that to freeze somebody's body in a hyperbaric chamber? Is that what it is? Just to keep them like from not falling apart in hopes that they could have another brain implanted in there someday?
I guess.
That's your whole thought process, right?
Do you know where he's being frozen? Like where specifically? Is it in Boston?
No, I don't know. It's with Walt Disney somewhere, I heard.
Dude, that's crazy.
But why are you doing that? You're doing that in hopes that one day you can bring him back to life, right?
Yeah, why else would you? They don't want to die. They want to live on forever.
But why would you preserve somebody's body like that without the thought of like trying to bring them back to life at some point, right?
Well, I think they maybe for cloning, they're like, I have a son or I have someone and I want their hitting genetics and like Jurassic Park type stuff.
You think they operate on him like a car and just like add new parts? Like here's a 30-year-old.
I don't think it's going to be Weekend. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be Weekend at Bernie's. But I think they want to preserve his body and like any type of like his anatomy or blood to see if they can like like horse racing, like reproduce. So like keep his blood alive to create another super hitter.
Interesting.
That's why I thought they would keep him alive. I don't think they're thinking about bringing him back to life, but I thought it was for like.
But then why keep the whole body? Why don't drain the body of the blood and all the valuable things you want? Preserve that.
I don't know.
Get rid of the carcass.
I really don't know enough about this to speak on it. All I know is that's the only reason I can think you would keep him alive.
Makes you think though, right? Why do they choose him and Walt Disney?
Or put him in Cooperstown, his frozen body. Be like, here is the greatest hitter of all time, and you can touch him.
Yeah. Just put on these gloves.
Just put on these gloves. It's like negative 400 degrees Celsius, so you'll like burn your hand because it's so cold.
Dry ice.
Yep.
Okay.
What else have you got?
I mean, I was just thinking about some alien stuff, but I don't know if we have to cover it.
This right into the pot, hit a wall. You're like, I don't fucking know. Aliens? I don't know. I don't really. I've seen prepare necessarily.
I've seen some of this in the news lately. Did you see any of this
fucking aliens? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck do you want to talk about? I don't know. I mean, this is my podcast, but like, fuck, I don't know.
No, I saw some alien stuff in the news recently, and now it's common knowledge, but nobody talks about it. That like, hey, the government already admitted that there are, UFOs that we don't know what the fuck they are, and everyone's just like, yeah, okay, makes sense. Nobody talks about it though.
So do you believe in UFOs?
I don't know, dude. I went down this rabbit hole and this girl was talking. She was reading out of a book, and Area 51 has a hole in it, and it goes down into the core of the earth. And there's lizard people that live down there, and these lizard people have been around forever, and they have been running things down there. And I'm not saying I believe this. I'm
What is
saying
this, like QAnon stuff?
No, I don't know. It was on like TikTok or like a Twitter or somking. And she
Dude,
was
are
just
you
reading out
being
of this
are you
book.
being radicalized right now? Should we talk
Not at
about
all.
this?
Not at all.
Dude, we're gonna come back on this pod, and it's gonna be a very different Pete. You're gonna be fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Um,
I hope I have my organs in the morning.
dude, well, it's fine. If you don't, we'll just freeze you.
Yeah. Right next to Ted
Yeah,
Williams.
I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I just have no time. For it. Like, not to think like I have faith and don't have to see something to believe it necessarily. But a lot of this conspiracy theory shit, especially on social, in the last like 5 to 8 years, I'm like, what a fucking waste of time. I just have no time for it.
Yeah.
What else do you have? What other brain busting topics do you have? I don't know. You guys like meatballs? You want to talk about that?
You guys ever been to a circus?
Guys, 2 things that I was thinking about: aliens and meatballs. Discuss.
You guys ever been to a circus? Hey, how do those clowns keep those big pants up?
Let's just talk about all the times we've been to Panera Bread and explain them. Each
How about-
episode will be a different time that we went to Panera Bread.
How about the fact that Panera bread is just hospital food?
Dude, I fucking love Panera Bread.
It's literally just hospital food.
What are
Soup
you,
and
nuts?
sandwiches. No,
it's so
nobody
good.
talks about it.
They have great paninis. Their soup is great. You ever get a bread bowl like with soup in it?
I've had a bread bowl before, yeah.
Dude,
pretty good.
they're amazing. And their coffee is actually underrated.
I hear they have the unlimited coffee. It's like $8.99 a month.
They have unlimited coffee, but it's actually pretty good. Also, their food is great and their soup is great. And their salads are not bad. You're nuts. Panera's the shit.
Didn't you just hear what I was talking about? Yeah, I'm a little nuts.
That's true.
All right, John.
What else have you got? Have you hit a wall?
I don't know. You prepared the entire show, which I greatly appreciate. And I just didn't bring too much other stuff. Obviously, I was talking about aliens and being frozen. I was trying to come up with other topics that weren't sports related.
I can talk about things that aren't sports related. I thought this was a sports related show.
It is.
Trying to think of other things that are happening in my life that would be interesting to the people. Everyone knows I'm moving, which is annoying because the moving sucks.
I feel like we're on stage at like improv or like a stand up, and it's like dead air. Oh, I forgot my notebook.
I did.
That's everyone knows I'm moving.
I did stand up. I did a couple open mics. Actually,
did you really?
Yeah, I did 3 last week or the week before. I think it was last week. I think I did 3 last week.
Cut me off about the aliens. Tell me about that. How did it go?
Yeah, it was. I did a couple bars in the north side of Chicago. It was me, 9 other comics, and then 2 like bona fide alcoholic sociopaths that are just hanging out.
Just want to have their voice heard.
Basically. Got a couple laughs, and it's interesting. I recently saw my style is kind of storytelling, but like jokes embedded within the story. It's like it's a type of comedy that I prefer watching as a fan. So listening to like Tom Segura or Dave Chappelle, great storytellers with a lot of jokes embedded in. And I recently saw Mike Birbiglia's show at the Steppenwolf, his new show, which was fantastic. And he makes it look so easy. And that's kind of my style. And so I had these stories with jokes in them. And then as I'm doing it, I have like 3 jokes in a 1 or 2 minute story, maybe like a 1 minute story. You need like 10 to 15 jokes in like a 45-second story. You just need rapid fire jokes. And then I do it and you come back to the realization of like, oh, you have to write. Like you really have to sit down and make sure that it's like every 20 to 25 seconds, you get a laugh. It's a laugh line. And so it's almost like a math or science thing where you're just like, you're just you're not counting the laughs, but you're making sure the laughs are consistent. So there's a lot of jokes embedded in there.
It's
So
a formula, just like with improv.
it really is.
there are rules.
So that was helpful. So I was like, okay, and then I did it again and made some edits, and it worked. But like that was just like it was like 1.5 minutes of material, and like I worked on the jokes for that. So you think about like how much time it takes to craft. Like you watch a 1 hour special on Netflix and you consume it and then you're done with it and you're like, oh God, when's it like, all right, I just saw their new special. Like when's their new shit coming out? And it's like, it takes years to create a whole hour of material. And how hard it is and how it looks so easy and it looks so seamless. And like they're just off the cuff, but they know every move. They know every turn. They know every tag. So it was, it was a learning experience, but it was fun and I really like doing it. And if I wasn't so tired all the time, because from being a dad and a full-time job, I would definitely do it more.
No, I get it, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's basically storytelling and knowing, how to deliver jokes, timing.
But it's jokes. It's like jokes in like a ton of jokes. Like Birbiglia, when I watched him, he was so funny and it looked so easy. But then when I really broke it down, I was like, oh my God, there's like 10 jokes within one story. And then he moves on to another thing. And then there's like 15 other jokes. So it's like jumping from like lily pad to lily pad. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, boom. They like never drown because it's like, I'm here and then I'm here. And then the laughs just carry you till the end. But, it's a ton. Once you realize it's just a ton of writing. It's a ton of writing and rehearsing and hours and hours in front of a mic and hours of sitting at your computer and writing.
What do you think's harder, stand up or improv?
I think stand up.
Yeah.
Just
stand up is harder for me.
I think stand up's harder because
you're up there by yourself.
You're by yourself, and I think writing's harder. Like, writing is way harder. Like improv is easier because I think you still bomb at the same rate. Like,
sure,
it's not an easier art form, but I think it's easier to do because one, you're not alone, so you're not feeling the bomb alone. You're feeling it with like 4 or 5 other people, but also you're given the benefit of the doubt from the audience because they know you're making it up. So
also,
I think improv's easier because
but there are games that you practice as well too. You know what I mean? They're
yes, they are.
Hey, we ran through this before.
Sure. But long form improv, I feel like you get a benefit of the doubt from the audience, who is inevitably 7 other improvisers who are waiting to go on after you.
Right.
And no regular people. But I think it's easier because they know it's made up and they give you the benefit of the doubt. You get a little leeway. You still bomb at the same rate, but like stand up, when you bomb there, they like fucking hate you. Like they hate you as a person because it takes a lot of guts to get up on a stage and by yourself with a microphone and just thinking that you can make an entire crowd laugh. And it's things that you prepared, like you spent time on it. So when something doesn't hit or something isn't funny, they're just like, you motherfucker, you're wasting my time. Like you had all day to prepare this. You know what I mean?
You came to an open mic. Lower your expectations.
Well, but people don't. You know what I mean? I tell my sisters that all the time. They think everything should be like Dave Chappelle, like their standards are so high. And I'm just like, what are you going to? Like they go to a comedy, they live in Madison. So they went to a comedy club and some featured stand-up they saw. And they're like, he wasn't that funny. I'm just like, yeah, but you're expecting it to be Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. Like these are people that have been doing stand-up for like maybe 5 years. And now they're featuring and, or you came to one of my student showcases. She goes, that was terrible. I'm like, we just learned this. We learned this 3 months ago, and it takes years to get good at this. You know what I mean?
It's like going to your kid's t-ball game.
They have that
wasn't like the Cubs.
Right. It's like, but because they're not in the entertainment industry and they have absolutely no frame of reference of it. So I remember that they were just like, God, like I just can't go to these shows anymore. I'm like, yeah, give me a couple years to get good at this and then I'll invite you.
Right.
You know, I was like, I didn't say this would be good. I go, we're all new.
I wasn't this mean at your piano recital.
Right. I was like, Jesus Christ. I remember I've been doing comedy for like 3 or 4 years, and I had to make a speech at a wedding. And I'm a pretty decent writer, and I had written some material and some jokes and some stories making fun of the groom, I was the best man, and the bride, and it went over really well. And I got off stage, and they're like, "Wow, like that was pretty good. Like we thought you were going to be terrible. Like you bomb." I was like, "I've been doing comedy for 4 years." Like,
Yeah.
like they just have. I don't know if it's I'm their brother, but they just were like, "Wow, like we thought that was going to suck." I'm like, I do have. Like I have some idea of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I have been doing this for 4 years, and they're like, I guess. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I grew up with you. Don't you know me?
Right. But oh my God, the worst audience for me would be my family, because they think, they were like,
they all hate you.
Like, yeah, I can't laugh at my brother.
Right. All right, John.
This was great, man.
That was a good episode. Thank you guys for listening.
We'll cut out the alien stuff. That was a weird tangent.
Was it?
I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding. We have to leave it all in contractually. Right. Playmaker makes us leave it all in.
That's what I heard. So we'll be back again Tuesday, right? We'll do Tuesday again. Yep. That'll be our day, Tuesday. Pod drops, Lost in the Shuffle. Pete and John. John, thank you. I will see you next week.
Sounds good, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.